welcome to the 9642 podcast. This is your host, Mr. NumberNine.
And this is The Fool.
Your 96 best place to listen to...
For 10 years.
Yes, for our 10th season of our mostly up-to-date...
And unqualified. And unrequested.
Ramblings of the various issues in the world of sport.
Or something like that.
Hello everyone, welcome to our Rugby World Cup 2023 podcast, the second to last World Cup that we're covering this year.
Yeah, you sure there's not some more? There seems to be a lot of World Cups around. Maybe there's one hiding under the sofa or something.
There might be a World Cup somewhere hiding under the sofa. There might be a baseball classic. Oh, that was last year. Okay, we're safe.
We're safe. We're safe.
All right. Baseball Classic World Cup can't hurt you. World Baseball Classic can't hurt you. But yes, we are at this Rugby World Cup. This year of great World Cups, we've got another. After this action-fixed tournament, we had a final between the two most decorated teams of World Rugby, the All Blacks versus the Springboks.
Yeah.
Here for all the marbles, and South Africa won a hard-fought, controversial final.
Yeah.
11-12, I think, deservedly, for very good play.
Oh, look, you can't take anything away from South Africa out of that game. And, yeah, dear God, New Zealand and South Africa like to have tight finals, don't they? 1 point in it. Both teams played amazingly. South Africa... clearly better, took their points, grounded out, and did everything they could to keep themselves in the game. Really, as you say, deserved winners. Just can't take away from their performance or their performance throughout the tournament either. Like, they've just had a phenomenal tournament, and the 3 knockout games, all winning them against tough opponents by 1 point. Like they played finals football to perfection.
It was a very smart finals as well. I think South Africa came to play. There was no, it wasn't a thing of, they were being dour and unaggressive. They were here to play, but I think this always seems to be the case. Like, I'm not a regular rugby follower, so you're gonna have to correct me if I'm wrong, but it always feels like whenever a Northern Hemisphere ref is in charge of 2 Southern Hemisphere teams, and both teams want to play, like, they go out of their way to prevent the teams from playing.
Yeah, I think that's just the difference in mentality between the Northern and Southern Hemisphere. And the Northern refs are just a little bit like the Northern teams in that they look, the set pieces is important. They want that just right and all the rest, and you just get this over-the-top officiating. And then, that sort of happened in other games, but, like, Wayne Barnes, I don't know, because he actually had a really good game, though the Irish may not think so, because he officiated the New Zealand-Ireland quarterfinal. Yeah. And I thought that was a good game. It sort of didn't really... one criteria for reffing in any sport is a ref has a good game if after the match you don't think about what they did. If you never... during the match, things happen, and you get to the end of the match, and that's not what's discussed, and you don't remember it. And I couldn't tell you much about any controversial decisions in the Ireland-New Zealand match. Maybe, I say the Irish may have different opinions because, they're on the losing end of it. But it seemed pretty flat. But that's not what you can say after the grand final. Like, the only talking point really coming out of that is the officiating, and that's from around the world. There's a little bit here and there of things, but it's a major part of that game.
Yeah, I think I will be honest. Like I said, I'm not a regular rugby watcher, so I'm happy to be corrected on this. I don't think the cards themselves were necessarily bad calls. No. Let me explain. I think both of the captain's red cards were red cards. I can't blame him for...
Khaleesi didn't get a red card, though.
Khaleesi red card not being upgraded because that's not an on-field referee's decision. That's a decision made on the
So they're
field
both
ref.
yellow.
So that's
So
not on him. I can't. So this is the thing where I think it would be appreciated if there was a lot more, like, you know, if you're gonna make a decision, different decision for two things that look the same. If the explanation is we got the first one wrong and we don't want to make two wrongs, while I don't like it, that's fine. But there's not, you know, that's not the impression I got. It felt like they thought there was something that made. I can't remember the term they use where like extenuating certain
mitigations. So they came up with for Khaleesi, they decided there was mitigations. Yeah,
and it would be nice to be told what those mitigations were.
Whilst they weren't very clear during the game, I think afterwards it sort of came out. So Khaleesi's one, he was bent slightly more at the hips than Kane, and his shoulder contact was to Savir's shoulder, and then his head hit Savir's head. So that's meant to be the mitigations. But when you watch them together, you're like, these are minute differences. You can't, like, I know there has to be a line somewhere, but this feels like two things that are just millimeters either side of the line, where you've just gone, and I know there's got to be, you sometimes go, look, maybe that was too harsh a call, we're sorry, and we're not going to just do two wrongs. But to me, like, Wayne Barnes shouldn't have given it as yellow to be, you know, with the review. You look at the replay and go, that's the same tackle, red card, we've already decided this, it's been officiated, the decision's been made. A tackle like that is a red card. It's been decided for this game. You're off.
Yeah, see, that's what I didn't know. I didn't know if a red card had to always become from the off-field umpire, because like, I don't watch rugby enough.
I think that's
to know whether that's in the.
It doesn't. That's have in to the
rules.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, but these days with that ability to put it on report, most refs will just do that because that's the safer option, right? They don't have to spend time making sure they've got the right decision. They can send it off to the bunker and have the bunker spend, you know, they've got 10 minutes to decide, basically. So they can spend 8 or 9 minutes reviewing it, really thinking about the rules and coming up with a decision. It's just me that says, like, you've already done that. Like, there's no, you just look at it and go, you're saying that's a hit, you're right, that's head to head contact. It's basically the same as the Sam Cane one. Red card. There's no, I think at the moment World Rugby's sort of just gone too far into letting the video ref be the decider. And I like, for all that it's problematics, VAR in football still leaves it with the on-field ref. The VAR is an assistant. It's there to assist the main referee. And I just feel the video ref should be more of an assistant, which is, hey, there is something you should look at. And if the ref wants to be like, this is a pretty controversial, well, not controversial call, but it's a pretty technical call. Okay, it's better if you guys look at it and you come back and tell me what you think, because we need some time for it, and I don't want to waste time looking at it on the big screen in front of everybody. You guys go do it. I'll continue riffing the game. The guy's on the side anyway. But it's
like that they don't do a big waste of time.
Yeah. So
the on-field umpire.
That is better than previous, where they would do a big waste of time and sit around and the ref would look up the big screen on the thing and be like, I'll play it again, I'll do this, do that, other angle, and try to work his way through it. At least now it's like, it's good that you send it away to the bunker. Let your assistants have a good deep look at it and come back with some recommendations. But at the same time, I feel like the two decisions showed that too much powers with the video ref. It just needs some pullback back to the on-field ref. You're still got to have the on-field ref. If you're going to have an on-field ref as the main ref, they've got to be the main ref. They should be making the decisions.
It's not like the third umpire in cricket where they give the benefit of the doubt to the on-field umpire. Yeah. But if the TV umpire is certain about something, they overrule. And like cricket is clear on how that works. Like there isn't a gray area around it. So there isn't like a succession crisis of umpires when you have a decision like this. So for once, cricket might have the better solution.
Oh, cricket definitely
Like,
has
to be
the
fair,
best solution.
cricket has used video far longer than any sport, and arguably uses it the best.
Yeah.
Like, there's one thing cricket does better than any sport is the video side of reffing.
Oh, definitely. It has the best video refs. The benefit there is that obviously the way that it's done is very cricket centric, right?
Yeah.
With the reviews and everything, and the teams' reviews and such like. So I don't think the cricket model can be replicated outside of cricket, which is a bit unfortunate because they have the balance right between player agency, ref decision making, and the videos correcting wrong decisions.
Yeah.
Like,
If you could, it's not perfect cricket by any stretch of the, but the main thing we're saying is that makes it wrong is a lot of times teams will waste time with getting a review because there's nothing to lose, especially towards the end of an innings, right? Like if Jimmy Neesham had, like for example, in the game against Australia, been hit on the leg and been given LBW and it's straight plumb, he would have probably gone upstairs if there's a review left, because why wouldn't you?
Exactly, just in case. Maybe it's just hitting just outside, maybe it's just too high,
And there is a valid question to ask whether that's what you want from your sport. Yeah. Like, do you want that to be... and cricket has decided, better the devil than the devil, than the other way around. And... because the cricket is very comfortable with not being perfect,
And to be fair, I think out of the main sports, cricket, the way cricket does video umpires and with the review system, I'm pretty comfortable as being the best there is. Like, it might not be perfect, but it's better than anything
in
else.
Cricket about how the refs are doing. Like, we know the refs are correct 97, and we know how it's audited, and they're correct 97. So when you know they're correct 97% of the time, and the video ref is very openly talking about this is happening, I don't think, blah, 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 blah. You can disagree with the decision. You're not confused why they came to that decision.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing as well.
Like, they are correct about this decision. Like, very few sports have that part correct. I don't think any sport has that part correct. Like, rugby is reffed on field generally better than any sport. Like, that football sport, like a contact real-time sport.
Yeah. I think it may even be that someone...
Way better than NFL, for example, like, where you just go like, what the heck is happening here? Yeah. Like, half the time. And I'm still a rookie and learning lots about NFL, and I go, that seems to not make sense, and people go, yeah, welcome to the NFL to me, like literally. The number of times I have to hear them going, this is the NFL, the no fun league, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. But yeah, I do agree that the on-field ref for rugby is one of the better refs. Like, they're very open about what they're doing, what they've seen. They're very clear and communicative, and
I can give football a pass for video because they're very newly learning. They're still ironing out their version of how videoing should work, right? Yeah. Football with VAR shouldn't be at a better position than rugby is, because rugby's been doing video for years.
I actually prefer the football VAR to the rugby one at the moment.
They are better. I agree with you. They are better, but they shouldn't be better because they have had less. They've had less time to figure out what they're doing.
Yeah, it was the football VAR, like the protocols about how it comes about, where they can interfere, and how they interfere are very clear. Like it's very well laid out. You know why, and it's still left to the on-field umpire for the final decision. They're clearly there as an assistant. Like, we've seen something. Can we check? Can we have a bit of time to check? Sure, let's have a bit of time to check. We think you should have a look. Okay, I'll go have a look, see what I think. And normally, if the VAR thinks that there was a reason why the ref should look, that there's a reason, and the ref will go, oh yeah, I missed something. Cool. You say, perhaps not completely perfect. Maybe still a lot of wastage of time.
You can argue about waste of time. You can argue about overuse, should be only used for howlers. All those are valid complaints, but the protocols are clear.
Yeah.
there's no, like I said, there's no succession crisis between referees in
No.
officiating in football, like how the law works. Who's got the line of command is like very clear in soccer, football, and cricket has a very whereas like with rugby, it seems like you've got the president and the prime minister, and neither one knows who's actually got the.
And it's funny because the NRL rugby league,
rugby league is really good,
and
100%.
they went through this exact problem with the video ref like 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 4 years ago. Like that's the stupid thing about rugby. Is like you have a sport which is basically the same, which went through this exact crisis. Came up with protocols.
Share resources with reffing, like they teach each other. Be like, hey, learn from us. We learn from you, and like they share rules like that. The two sports do this.
I know.
Quite openly.
And league came up with a still not perfect, but a better system, and it's better than this rugby one. So just do what they do. It's not the greatest. Like the bunker has for NRL has plenty of problems, but at least still, once again, they have a clear protocol about. The fact that
if you're gonna say
on-field ref makes a call and then the video ref decides whether that's right or not. Like at least there is.
I don't watch a Northern Hemisphere rugby league. I don't watch Super League. No. Like that's so I can't comment on it. No, NRL is way better refed than international rugby at the moment.
Yes.
From what little I've seen. I've only seen the showpiece events. I've seen NRL playoffs and leading up to the playoffs, and I've seen Rugby Union World Cup games only. So I'm not seeing the regular. I don't know what you guys are like in your regular season because those are not sports I follow all the time. Yeah. So I'm sure NRL has weeks where reffing is shocking.
Oh, no, definitely.
Yeah. And ditto with Rugby Union have weeks where reffing is great, and the system works as intended. So this is not a dig. I'm just saying, like, at both your showpiece events, like, compare the NRL Grand Final to if the NRL Grand Final was reffed the way the Rugby World Cup Final was reffed, it wouldn't be that spectacle, like. Yeah, Nathan Cleary, beg your pardon, would probably get booked at some point, or
I think
call on this thing, which would turn out to not be a NRL refs get a feel for how the teams want to play, and will encourage teams to play.
Yeah. I think that's a good thing with them.
I think the style mismatch will always make you leery of reffing, and that's a problem in rugby. And I don't know how you solve that. Like, there's no style mismatch in cricket. Umpires umpire the same way, regardless of where you're from. They all learn from technology. They all think the same, and they make mistakes, but they're consistent about how they see the law. And the laws are clear. Cricket has very clear rules. There's no gray areas in cricket.
Except for all the grey areas, but yes. And in terms of the laws that the umpires are reffing, they're pretty clear cut. It's all the other side of the spirit of cricket. One law you could
say is the grey area is fake fielding. And how often does that happen? That's literally up to the umpire's interpretation of what's happening on the field.
Yeah. That's something. What the umpires do is basically no grey.
Fielding is obvious, right?
Yeah.
And it's such a rare law to be implemented that, fine, you have this one thing, which often doesn't come into play, that is sometimes could be a matter of, but most of the time you're like, the rules are clear, man. It's written in black and white how you can interpret this. It's fine. I don't mind if the umpire goes, I have to read the rule book to see how it went, look at the video, go, oh yeah, this is how it worked. I think that's good, and cricket does that.
Yeah.
They're not like, we know everything. You totally don't. You're looking at the rule book, Yeah. Cricket's like, no, I'm looking at the rule book. And you're like, okay, they're going to come out with, they've looked at the rule book,
Yeah. Yeah, someone's written this down. We're ever going to look. And cricket's also good for going back and being like, okay, we were ruling on this particular rule, but we've decided that it's a little bit, it doesn't make sense anymore. Like, once again, teams the world over basically play, the style evolves, but it evolves generally worldwide. And you're right, that there is a style mismatch in rugby union, which is perhaps the only really main sport code that has such a big style mismatch between your northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. And
Yeah.
even then, you have that between countries as well. Like, you compare New Zealand and Australia play similar but slightly different, and then you compare it to South Africa. There's similarities, but it's different again. Like, the style is quite. There's a market. You could say there's an English style, there's a Scottish style, there's an Irish style, there's a New Zealand style. There's each country has its uniqueness.
There did used to be a different style of reffing and umpiring in different countries in cricket. So this is not. So the reason why I'm bringing it up is because that proves that rugby doesn't have to be that way. Cricket didn't have to. Cricket changed to be a sport that globalized and became we're one style when it comes to umpiring. Like even every umpire who's a top level umpire who's going to be umpiring test matches knows how to umpire in England or India or because they watch enough footage, they train themselves, and I'm not saying umpires in rugby don't do it, but it's probably a very different task in cricket, like to interpret the rules versus how you interpret the rules in rugby.
I think one of the things, and this is just my thoughts on it, is that to me, it did seem like the officials at the Rugby World Cup and probably international rugby, World Rugby, were just wanting to have a perfect game, like have every call be right, everything be according to the letter of the law. And this is rugby, where the letter of the law is just a hodgepodge of words thrown together, and hopefully they make some sense, especially when it comes to rucks and mauls and scrums. Like, it's the most subjective.
There's already so much gray area in rugby in terms of interpreting a lot of stuff. So we put a lot of onus on rugby referees, even compared to like rugby league. Rugby league referees have more clear-cut rules. And even football, which is a more subjective game, has more clear-cut rules than rugby does. For a lot of situations, like for situations that come up very often in the game. Right?
I'm pretty sure the ruck, maul, and scrums situation in rugby is the most subjective rule set there is in any sport. Like,
we had the most controversial football World Cup ever. Nobody's complaining about the umpire reffing in the finals of that game.
No. Once again, it's, as I said, a good measure for me about how good an umpire did was after the game.
That was one of the best finals we've ever watched. Finals game of any football code we've ever watched.
And I feel sorry for South Africa out of this as well, because
they're getting a lot of talk about. It's not deserved. Like they played
really well.
I think are deserved winners. And should rightfully be celebrated.
So I just feel sorry for them, but now they have to live with the fact that everybody's talking about the refereeing and these decisions and how they impacted the game and changed it. It's like, we don't know how much it would change. Maybe South Africa could have ground out that. Even with 14 on 14, it could have ended the same. Even with 15 on 15.
I think it's particularly unfair because, quite frankly, New Zealand would have still won if they had made their kicks. So it's unfair to blame. So, and South Africa made their kicks. Like, at the end of the day, you can't complain. Like, you can't complain about umpiring if you dropped 5 catches in a match, right? Like, what are you going to do, bro? It was in your hands.
Exactly. To me, that does bring up one
You
call.
let the refs come into the game, like, at a certain point.
It does bring up to me one call which can be pointed directly at the ref and gave South Africa 3 direct points because they could kick their goals. And that was in the first half.
And he admitted it after as well, that second Pollard penalty.
Which is crazy when you think about it. Like, he gives a penalty, and then he's like, sees the replay and he's like, oh yeah, no, I was totally wrong. But they still get to kick the penalty and get 3 points. Sure, that's at the beginning game. There's a lot more of the game to go. And it's now only at the end where it's by 1 point that you look at that and go, you gave them 3 points that won them the game, that you then almost immediately admitted was the wrong call. But I mean, to me though, there was plenty of calls that went wrong both ways. Like, I'm not gonna sit there and go biased or whatever. Like, it was a wrong call. It just happens to be a kick that went over. That then is the difference in the game. But like, South Africa nearly scored a try at one point where half the players were still playing a game and the rest of them were standing around because the ref had blown a knock on. I can't tell you where that knock on was in any of those replays of that moment. Like, South Africa should have been up on attack. They had made a big breakaway. The New Zealand would have been scrambling back. They could have scored a try then, and they probably should have been given that chance because there was no knock on. Like, I can't see where it even exists. They could have come back to it and
looked at the knock on and whatnot.
Yeah.
And but like, that's the thing is, that's the Northern Hemisphere style of reffing, right?
And let's go back to what I was saying. Like, I just felt like they were too busily trying to be right. Like, you watch the Football World Cup, the ref's not out there trying to be right in every moment. He's out there trying to ensure that he's done his best during it. Like that, and that's the slight difference. Yeah,
I think one of the reasons why football was right to avoid taking video as a reffing tool for such a long time is football knew for a long time that the refs are not there to ref you a perfect game.
Yeah.
The refs are there to make sure you can have a game.
Yes.
Because if you ever play a competitive football game without a ref, it degenerates to nothing.
Yeah, no, it is a horrendous
You just argue. Nothing happens. So the ref is there to prevent that from happening. That is their primary role. It's not, health and safety, then that, and then it's like enforcing rules. It is not their job to make a perfect rule. It is, football knew that their role is their job is actually just to make sure you can play a game.
Yeah.
But the fact is, once you introduce video reffing as a thing in your sport, fans have an expectation, rightly or wrongly, that you should now have perfect enforcement of rules because you have technology helping you.
You can see it.
And that's not necessarily a positive outcome for your sport.
No. Well, you just have to look at some of the offside calls from VAR. Either the Women's World Cup, I can think of one specifically, a New Zealand goal that was disallowed because the player was a minute amount of her shoulder and head offside, according to the VAR. But that is being exactly right. That is, quote unquote, perfection in your upholding the rules. By the rules, she was offside. The rules say that if any part of your shoulder, head, or any part that you can score a goal with is ahead of the last defender, it's offside. And that was true. So was offside. Just because it was like the barest of millimeters of body part that was offside,
doesn't make a difference.
Doesn't make a difference. But if you let it for humans to ref and not do the technology, then that's a goal because it's like that's too close to
whatever.
Call.
I can't tell. Benefit of the doubt goes to the attacking team, rightfully.
Yeah.
And and that's how it would be interpreted. You can groan about it, but you can't say the ref's making a fucking mistake. You're like, no, he's made a call. He's seen a legitimate thing.
Yeah.
And and he's made a legitimate call. Like, I disagree with it, but it's not. Again, he's not breaking the rules. He's not like fixing a game.
No.
Like
exactly. And so you're right. You're right. It is hard to get to the balance right here because you can't not have the technology because the technology is there. And rightly or wrongly,
you've made the technology genie, you can't put it back in the bottle.
Well, the thing
is out of the bottle. Like, if football still didn't have VAR, we could happily live in a world without VAR and still live in the old world and be like, oh, we've seen these replays, but then we're like, okay, but they don't have the tech. We can't expect them to be perfect. Like, every fan at the end of the day will go, we can't expect them to be perfect. They don't get to see the replay, right?
The problem is that, except that works until there's the howler, and then people go, oh, they should have it. Like, the technology genie is not
one. Well, it's still young enough that fans, we can decide, be like, hey, let's agree we don't do this again. We don't do this.
That's not how humans work, unfortunately. And that's...
But as a thing, like, as I said, once you've released the technology genie out of the bottle, you can't put it back in.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think? Like, in an ideal world, if I'm 100% sure FIFA will not do this. Do they go, okay, this was a bad idea, let's just not have it anymore as a rule?
I don't think they can, as I said. Unfortunately, the technology genie is already out, and
Yeah.
all big TV coverages of any sport are going to use as much technology as they can to show whether something was right or wrong, and they're going to pick apart a ref's decision as much as they can. Especially, if your country's playing, then the video feed, if that's being controlled by your country's TV stations, that's what they're going to do. They're going to use whatever technology they have to pick apart the decisions as much as possible, especially if they find something that was wrong, quote unquote wrong, and then they're going to beef that up because that's going to generate sales and revenue for that media company.
Column inches. I'm totally a millennial. Yes.
Yeah.
Not a boomer. Promise.
We're not boomers. I don't know if we're really millennials, but we're not boomers.
But yeah, like, it sells copy, right? Whatever we're talking about, it sells copy, and controversy is the name of the game. And I guess football already had enough controversy. It was fine. We just, sports washing, geopolitics. Come on, we were football was the king of controversy. Like, they did it better than everybody else.
Yeah.
And by better, I mean worse, but
Yeah.
Let me be very clear.
Yeah. I mean, football perhaps was the one sport that could have kept away from the technology, just because, as you say, it would have been another thing.
And there was enough of a debate. Like, football fans are not stupid. They were seeing what was happening in other sports and going, do we want that? Like, that's not necessarily good.
Yeah, exactly.
There wasn't a huge outcry of we want tech, we want tech. They were no, tech, maybe not.
We might want tech. Think about it.
We might not want tech. We might not want tech.
Let's think about it and consider all angles. Let's think about it and consider all angles.
Yeah, literally. I think literally.
Literally.
What's the chat?
This requires thoughtful and long discussion.
Unlike most football-related topics, I think most people were kind of leery of what would this do to the sport.
And I think most people would be like, it can be helpful, but it needed that sort of thoughtful.
But does it make the product we watch on TV better?
Some ways
I would argue cricket 100% yes.
Cricket does. I would argue VAR.
Tennis, yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
And
football.
But those are turn-based sports. NFL, 50-50 maybe?
Yeah.
Because they don't do it but in theory, you're still 50-50 maybe with NFL.
Yeah.
And rugby, I'm but you have different styles, and you're very not clear on what this game sport rules are. I think that's some recipe for disaster for how you interpret how you decide to enforce the rules in a sport. If you're going to be so technical, and try to be so precise, I don't know. I don't think it leads to good results.
No, I'm sort of with you on that one. I feel like maybe rugby needs to just completely take it out and only leave it as an on-field ref's call. So he's like, there may have been something there and I'm not sure. I'm going to now go, he has to call them in. They don't ring him up and be like, hey, there's something we should look at. No, it's only 100% ref being actually this is a bit that I don't, something happened and I don't know what it was. So let's go there. Which is sort of how leagues ended up being. Is very much now the on-field ref makes the call, and if he's unsure about it, He's
Like,
I'm
he
trying
doesn't even have to 100. He just has to be like, there was a weird amount of rucking going on there. I couldn't tell everything that happened. Can you just have a look? And the thing is, like, but even then, I don't think a referee in any sport should do that, because if you didn't catch a potential, like, one of the things in that rugby game that Sam Kane hit, it's a hit. It's a head high, no question.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the South African captain.
Khaleesi is the South African.
Khaleesi, yeah. Khaleesi, head to head, definitely. And like I said, the reason why I'm immediate, like, they're both reds. Head high is red. I've been brought up playing rugby all my life. You don't do that. That is 100% a red. You know, I don't care if it's intentional or not. Like, in my very first rugby game, did accidentally shoulder barge into the head of another player to stop them when they had the ball. And the coach immediately took me off, and he was like, how much rugby have you played? And I'm like, not much. And he was like, okay, sit down. It's cool. I think you should play 4th grade. This was when I was playing in second 15.
All right.
Hey, the guy luckily was way bigger than me, so I did hardly any damage. But he was just like, no, you're probably shouldn't be playing rugby at this level, because, you know, the other team are probably out to hit you now because you shoulder barge onto somebody's head, pretty much. And like, you know, maybe because I've watched NFL for so many years, it's just like head-on-head collision, like intentional head-on-heads are like, no, you're off, you know. And I feel like that's I am so wary of concussions. That's how I feel about that. So I didn't have an issue with those two sort of being, but back in the old days, those stuff just wouldn't get caught in rugby, and you just play the game.
Well,
and were we poorer for it as fans?
It wouldn't have been that they wouldn't have been caught. They just would not have been considered that. And I sort of feel one thing that World Rugby has sort of done right, well, they did do right and have sort of messed it up in the last few years, was the head knocks. Like, they've got a long way to go with just general concussion of players and conditioning of players. But in terms of player safety, in terms of tackling and with players in the air,
once again, rugby league takes the lead. Like, they have way less of an issue with concussions in the first place, and they were proactive about making it even safer.
I feel like Rugby Union did that first, and then the last maybe 10 years, it's really walked back.
Spent a lot of time going like, it's not a big deal, and we shouldn't worry about it. And then we're like, oh, you get more concussions playing club rugby than in the NFL. But, come on, that's a problem. You literally had to be shown medical data before World Rugby, and okay, maybe we look at it. You know, whereas rugby league kind of went, oh, there's a sniff, move, you know? Like, probably to protect themselves. I'm not saying they did it purely out of the altruism and the goodness of their heart. They're like, we'll get sued. We can't be like cigarette companies and ignore evidence and data.
Yeah. It's all very true. So.
And like, rugby was similar to the NFL, like spending years like saying that there's nothing wrong, absolutely ignoring it, and then being like, okay, our bad. Yeah. And like, I don't blame football for taking a while and thinking about it, because it's like, you know, we know that headers can cause really bad problems with CTE, but we don't know how much of that is from back in the day when, you know, footballs weighed like, you know,
£1 million. 2
kgs. You know.
When they were literal rocks.
And now, like, and look, but we also kick the ball harder than ever, and we go, and it's like, you know, I don't want to see 20 years down the track, you know, Cristiano Ronaldo's basically a vegetable because of how many balls he's headed into a goal, you know? Like, that's like that, you know, like, we have to think about what's going to happen.
Exactly.
So football still has stuff to do, but it's still figuring it out. And like, you know, cricket was like very proactive. Once again, really proactive about like, oh, concussions, done. This is the protocol. On field, players, no, fuck off. Our doctor will go and check and be like, okay, come off.
And it's even better because with cricket, it's like anything that's hit
anywhere near the helmet. It's like, nope, okay, doctor's on, check him out, get him a new helmet. If he's fit to play, he gets a new helmet. And everything just stops and just like, nope, we'll wait while we sort this out. Instantly, like anything that's near the head, it's like, looked like it hit the head, right, get up there, get it checked out. Make sure he's okay, do the protocols, cool. He's good to play, new helmet, you play on. Or nope, not good, get him off. Sure, that.
And you're allowed a concussion substitute, which I think is good.
Yeah, that may have taken a death or two to spur along, but at the same time, it wasn't like.
Cricket has had more on-field deaths than any other sport.
Yeah.
I shouldn't laugh because it's tragic and horrible.
It's very tragic, but yeah. But it's also true.
Unfortunately, cricket is actually more dangerous for you.
Yeah, definitely.
So
but they do react to those quickly, right? These things happen. New rules come in and new ways of doing it, and generally they're not. What's happened is not necessarily direct related to them ignoring danger signs beforehand.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
It's like there's a new all this thing happened. Oh yeah, this is dangerous. We've now got a new hazard. We'll now put some mitigations and controls in place to ensure that we're dealing with this going forward.
And even there are sort of agreements in cricket where you go, okay, this is a new thing. Until we make official rules, umpires are going to do this, and players go, okay, health and safety, yep, 100%,
Yeah. That's for health and safety? Sure, that's helping us, that's keeping us safe, so we're in on this.
Cricket is not a contact sport, so we're not we're going to play hard, and no, everybody in cricket's no, this is our job. We shouldn't have to die here.
Yeah. Cricket really is the gentleman's game played by gentlemen.
Yep. In some ways. Yeah. And by gentlemen you mean people who rob the poor and take their money, then yes, absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's what I was meaning. I was meaning as in nobles.
Yes. But yeah, without getting too much further detracted by umpiring, this is a problem World Rugby kind of needs to address, but I am definitely still looking forward to the next Rugby World Cup that's going to be held in Australia. It's only a hop, skip, and a jump away for us.
Yeah.
Hopefully the Wallabies will have a better team to play in that tournament. And
Eddie Jones is surprise, Eddie Jones quit as Australian coach after denying it for the entire World Cup. So maybe that's a chance now for Australia. Yeah.
Was that the worst kept secret in Australian sport?
Well, it was Eddie Jones denying it. It wasn't. It was a worst kept Eddie Jones secret, I guess.
Yes.
Everyone's like, you're going to Japan. And he's like, no, I'm not. Why are you saying that? Nobody's saying that. And it's like, no, everybody's saying you're going to Japan. We all know you're going to Japan. No, it's not happening. It's not happening. This is all just hearsay. No, Eddie, we know what you're doing. Just be upfront about it. No.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, but
he still hasn't said he's going to Japan.
You know what you need to do. You know what you need to do. Hire Ivan Cleary. Give him an offer he can't refuse.
Actually, that would be awesome. That might actually make the Wallabies really good.
Stay away from Andrew Webster, Penrith, if that happens.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, bring Ivan Cleary. Tell him to bring Nathan along.
You know that's happening.
You've got a stew going in the next World Cup, man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, League fans. I didn't.
Yeah. Sorry, League fans. It's okay. I don't think he'd listen.
I just really want the Warriors to win next season.
That's what our dastardly plan. I see. The Warriors will win in the next 4 seasons if Ivan Cleary goes coaches the Wallabies. Excellent.
That would be so cool. Legitimately so cool.
It really would be. You never know. Australian rugby might listen to us.
They didn't listen to us when we said they should just merge rugby union in New Zealand and Australia.
Yeah, league and union.
With league and just be a super duper league, but no. Yeah. They could even have called it super duper league. Who would have argued with them?
No one would have argued.
But in the end, we have what we have, and we have to remain happy with it.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, I think. God.
I was just going to say, I was going to just echo your thoughts about, despite the last game, the Rugby World Cup, and just the general length of it. That's the other thing that gets to me. It got pointed out the other day. It's like 2 months of rugby, which is great, but at the same time, sort of feels a very long time.
Okay, I will point out we have 19 dead rubbers in the Cricket World Cup coming up.
There is that. So the Cricket World Cup takes about as long as well. So.
The length is not the issue. It's the fact that at some point you have so many meaningless games where nobody can qualify for a knockout, or it's very difficult.
Yeah, and I think the next Rugby World Cup it's expanded to 24 teams. Yes, or is that the one after? Yes, next
24 teams, and I think 6 groups of 4 or something like that will be how they divvy them up.
Yep, and then a round of 16 before the quarterfinals.
So
and World Rugby listened to us, and there's going to be an actual proper World Rugby Championship. World Rugby Championship with, I think it's 2032 or 2030, with promotion relegation eventually. I mean, enough time out in the future for certain big unions to try and stifle that, but for the moment, promotion relegation is coming, so I'm happy.
Look, man, cricket just needs to follow rugby's lead.
Yeah.
And we'll have the perfect sports world order because everybody will have listened to us.
Yeah. I mean, they've already done the World Women's 15s that started with the promotion relegation and everything, I think, if I remember correctly. So.
Obviously, the women lead the way.
They 100% have led the way. They've just done it. They're just like, nope, we're just going to do this now. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks, bye. Absolutely. Yeah. Well done.
Well done, the woman.
Exactly. But yeah, I think we're definitely looking forward to the next Rugby World Cup. Like, especially since it's in our neighborhood, it'll it's revitalize. It's the debate, the eternal debate you and I have about why can't rugby union just be more like league, and there's like, and quite literally for Australia, just get Ivan Cleary, man.
Just get up.
And
it will solve their problems. The Wallabies will be good again.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. 2 people. 2 Clearys.
Yeah.
And, your favourites for the William Webb Ellis Trophy. I'm telling you.
100% that's happening. All that's needed.
But yeah, I think that's all we have time for today. Thanks very much for listening, and look forward to hearing from you next time.
Catch you next time.
Well, that is the end. Thanks for listening all the way through.
If you liked what you heard, we have even more. NineSixFourTwo Discord and a Buy Me a Coffee.
Pretty sure it's Buy Me a Beer.
Oh yeah, buy me a beer on buymeacoffee.com.
In both these places, you can talk to us, and we may even listen, especially if you do buy a said beer or coffee. I might still be confused.
Yes, we're easily bribed. All links are in the show notes below.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
This is on YouTube.